County Administrator's Report. John.
I have 4 things. I'll be very, very brief. 2 of the items I will ask you to waive policy and add to the agenda tonight. One you've heard about previously. One we received after your agenda packet was distributed. I believe we received it on Monday of this week. First, just to let you all know, we talked a little bit about staff earlier. In this room, about 3 weeks ago, myself, Dawn Riddle, Executive Director of Social Services and Chairman of that board, David Crozier, met with the 3 staff members from DSS and just discussed with them some concerns that they had over the staffing levels in that agency, compensation of folks in that agency, and then also the difference between a deviating and a non-deviating social service agency. And it was a good conversation with those folks. I think there was a lot of information shared amongst the group, and I think it was very productive for the employees and then also for us as well. And for those of you who don't know, deviating versus non-deviating agency is in more of your larger, more suburban or urban areas, social services agencies deviate and they become a component of the local government and a department, just like Parks and Recreation or Public Works or Planning and Zoning or Building Inspections. Most of your rural areas, non-deviating agencies remain kind of a hybrid. And those folks get lost from time to time as a state agency or a local government agency, and they act under primarily under the human resources component of the state government. And so, very good conversation with those folks about that. There'll probably be some more conversation about it forthcoming, but just want you to be aware of it and know that we had this conversation. I know Ms. Cox serves and has for quite some time on the Social Services Board. So we had a very good discussion with those folks. The merger plan for the joint school system was presented for first reading to the Board of Education. And that first reading went well. They did not take action. They won't take action. They don't meet in December. They won't take action until January. One very good question and comment came from the chairman of that group, Mr. Gecker, who's from Chesterfield County, about whether or not what happens if the funding doesn't come through from the General Assembly. And so they're working through some legal questions and very may well end up with resolutions similar to what you all adopted as boards and school board that mentions that it is contingent upon receipt of funding to implement from the General Assembly. Very good presentation. A group of us participated, and then there was a webinar link for folks who would like to watch the presentation remotely. So Jonathan Arrett, Jacob Wright, Chris Lonitis, Lynn Snee Johnson, Sherman Callahan, and myself were participants in the meeting with the Board of Education, while it was presented with assistance from Stephen P. Grass from Trout and Pepper. Be happy to answer any questions about those 2, and then the next 2 items I would ask that you waive action and give us permission to move forward with. The first is, and we've discussed it, and it is utilizing CARES Act dollars that we received to make physical improvements, and it's to the courthouse primarily, and then some renovations here in our treasurer's office. We opened bids for that project today at 2 p.m. in this room. It was mandatory pre-bid that was held earlier this month. We had 4 contractors attend the mandatory pre-bid meeting and job showing. We had 2 contractors submit bids by the deadline today at 2 p.m. F&S Building Innovations out of Roanoke is the apparent low bidder at $287,878. That's low bid to make the courthouse renovations in the Commonwealth Attorney's space, Circuit Court Clerk's office, the vestibule area for ingress and egress out of the building, with some improvements there for the courthouse security folks, victim witness, in the basement, and then some improvements in the general district courts, clerk's office, and chambers for the general district court as well to address COVID. This building, there'll be some additional space provided for parks and recreation and a more efficient or barrier for the treasurer's office, in addition to the temporary structure that we have installed in there now. What I would ask for you tonight, the second low bidder was Nielsen out of Harrisonburg. Their bid was $417,000. The concern that I have with the bids is a separation. There's $130,000 separation between the low bid and the second bid. We just opened them today, so we need time to review them. Our consultant, AECom, is assisting with that review. What I would like for your permission is to, because we're time sensitive on the construction and the issuance of the PO, is if we determine that F&S Builders is responsive and responsible low bidder, allow us to award the contract to them for the project in accordance. It's got to be in a form that's acceptable to the county attorney, and the county attorney's office helped us and prepared the document for the front end specifications. If we find that it's not, we'll have to reject and rebid the job. And I would like your authorization tonight to do either, based on our review of F&S Buildings renovations apparent low bid, so we can move forward with that project. Again, these are not local dollars. Both bids came in under our estimate. Our estimate was just north of $500,000 from engineering and architectural estimate. I would, because of the schedule and the time frame we're under, I would request your authorization to either award the low bid to F&S Building Innovations, or if we find discrepancies in their low bid, to unfortunately have to reject and rebid.
So we need a motion to examine and award or reject the contract for the renovation.
If you're willing
I've got a
to.
question. Do you feel like that F&S has really looked at that building for the thickness of the walls there? I mean, that could be quite expensive, which we both know.
That's why we had the mandatory. We required the mandatory pre-bid meeting and job showing for contractors. So they were taken on a tour of the building. They were also provided access to visit the building again if they coordinated and scheduled with us to come back and look at the job a second time. We made that available to them, and then they have the detailed plans and specifications that we developed that show wall thickness, material. So I can only tell you what we've provided them. I can't
understand.
I can't.
When you said Nielsen, James Madison came to my mind, and they've done most of that work, and that structure up there is rock similar to our courthouse. So do they know something that somebody else doesn't know?
Does it require a bond?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's a bond.
That's all good.
100% performance and payment bond on the project.
So they can't walk away.
No, it's bond. We require bid bonding as well.
So we're covered. Do we need, I guess I need a motion to, like I said, examine and award and or reject.
We need a motion to waive policy.
To waive policy.
And
then one to approve for.
And again, just to stress, these are the dollars from the CARES Act that we're utilizing to make facility improvements.
You don't have to waive
Okay.
anything further.
Sorry.
Because it hadn't been on the agenda. Okay. So we need a motion to approve. Or who was first? Mr. Griffith. Second by Ms. Cox. Melissa.
Mrs. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Griffith?
Yes.
Mr. Nicely?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Ms. Vanderstall?
Yes.
Mr. Gardner?
Yes.
Thank you. The second piece, and I believe you all have a copy of a letter from Chuck Unroe at your seat. This is what we received. That was hand delivered to me, I believe, on Monday. as many of you are probably aware, Clifton Forge with some volunteer resources are trying to make some renovations and improvements to Washington Park, which is on the eastern end of Clifton Forge. As you travel out of town, as is the case in our past practice, they're requesting, we don't have the ability to administratively waive the permit fees. They're requesting waiver of the building permit fee for a new pavilion to be constructed there. And you have granted these in the past for both Iron Gate and Clifton Forge, and we certainly recommend that the board authorize us to waive the building permit fee for this particular project for the town.
Have a motion by Mr. Shaw, a second by Ms. Vanderstal. Melissa?
Mrs. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Griffith?
Yes.
Mr. Meisler?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.